Hello and welcome to part 4 in a series of videos that I'm putting out this week where I break down all the fights taking place at UFC 238 from a betting perspective. Now if I'm talking a little bit quieter than usual, it is because it is currently 1:30 AM in the UK on Friday night, the night before UFC 238, and my 9-year-old son is in bed upstairs, so I don't want to get too lively just in case I wake him up. And also, because it is 1:30 AM, my girlfriend, my wife, well, she's officially my girlfriend, but I've been with her for like 15 years, so I call her my wife. She is out with her friends at a local bar, so she will probably be home sometime during the recording of this video, and she will probably disturb the video, so there is a high probability that there will be some drunk girls walking in on us, at least one drunk girl, so I do apologise, but I need to get this video recorded now so that I can save it, upload it and get it on YouTube before I go to bed. Now, if you are wondering why I'm staying up so late on a Friday night, it is to adjust my sleep cycle for UFC 238 tomorrow. So, as you guys know, if you've been watching my videos for a while now, I earn the vast majority of my money from live betting on MMA, which means I have to stay up and watch all the UFC events live. Now, in the UK, unfortunately, the broadcast for UFC 238 doesn't start until 11:15 PM tomorrow and is likely to run through till about 5 or 6 AM. So, if I were to go to bed tonight at a normal time and wake up tomorrow morning, I would be absolutely wrecked by the time UFC started. And obviously, when it comes to live betting, you've got to be really switched on, really sharp, and really ready to make very good calculated decisions. And obviously, if you're tired, it can affect your sharpness and decision making. So what I tend to do, the day before an event, I will stay up really late. So tonight, for example, I will stay up probably until about 5 or 6 AM just to try and get into a different sleep cycle. I'll then stay in bed tomorrow until probably 3 or 4 PM, wake up, and then I'll be fresh throughout the night then for live betting. So that is why I'm up very late tonight recording this video. That is why this video will probably be interrupted by at least one drunk girl, usually a group of drunk girls. And this is also the reason why I'm going to be talking a little bit quiet, because my son is in bed upstairs, and we've also got a rowdy Shih Tzu floating around in the background somewhere. I'm guessing I'm kind of hoping that a rowdy group of drunk girls end up spoiling the video, because that might make for possibly the best thumbnail that we've ever had. But before we go into breaking down these videos, I just want to first of all kick things off by just saying a massive thank you to you if you're watching this video. You're an absolute legend. I really appreciate it. The support that I've got on these videos has been absolutely phenomenal since I set the channel up 3 months ago, and also the support that I've got over the last week putting out these UFC 238 videos has also been amazing. Like, I've noticed something very different this week. I've got to be honest. I've noticed that there's a very different vibe from week to week. You know, when we get these regular fight night cards like Smith and Gustafsson, generally, you know, in the comments and the people that watch the videos, they're very mature. In the comments, it's very respectful. Because I think, like, there's two different crowds that watch the video. There's the casuals that just come out for the big fights, and they tend to be quite abrasive and rude. And then there are, you know, the hardcores, the people that take betting on MMA really seriously, like you. I am talking to you if you're watching this video. You're a real dude. You're very serious about betting on MMA. And I've noticed that the overall tone on these videos, like the part 4s, where we're only breaking down the smaller fights with guys that most casuals wouldn't have heard of, that's where we get to, you know, the kind of guys that I like to talk to, the kind of guys that I like to discuss MMA with. Like, you watching this video, really do respect your opinion, and I just want to say thank you for supporting me, and that's really shown this week. It's been crazy. Just something I want to show you is I've got to be honest, Tony Ferguson and Donald Cerrone are two of the most popular fighters in MMA. Like, they're two of my favourite fighters. Everyone loves Cerrone, everyone likes Ferguson, and naturally people are going to have really strong opinions on how they think the fight between Ferguson and Cerrone is going to play out. And because of that, I've got to be honest, I was dreading uploading this video this week, because I do have a strong opinion on how I think it'll play out, and I I was dreading uploading it because I really felt that I was just going to take a load of abuse like I did when I broke down Adesanya versus Gastelum or Aldo versus Volkanovski or any of the other fights where people have been really opinionated. And I've got to be honest, even though people, are very split on the Ferguson versus Cerrone fight, by no means, if you go through the comments, everyone's agreeing with me or everyone's disagreeing with me. It is very split down the middle. A lot of people are favouring Ferguson, which I get. A lot of people are favouring Cerrone, which I get. But the really cool thing is this video, because everyone feels passionately about this fight because it's Cerrone and Ferguson are so amazing. This video's had 288 comments, which is crazy. It's a massive amount of comments. It's 10% of the people that have watched the video have actually left a comment, which is phenomenal. And I want to say big thank you to everyone that has left a comment. Like, literally, like, proper thank you to you, because everyone is divided on this fight. Everyone's got a different opinion, but the people that have been leaving comments are so cool, like, genuinely so cool. Like, there's been barely any trolls this week, you know what I mean? Like, literally, like, 2 or 3 trolls out of almost 300 comments. Like, everyone in there just, putting the point across. If they disagree with me, they're saying, I disagree, this is why. Just proper good discussion, which I love. And I've tried really hard to reply to every single one of you that's left a comment on this video. I just really appreciate it. Like, it means a lot that instead of, like, people just being like, oh, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, you're a scammer, you're a shill, you're clueless, you're a fool, you're a fraud, all these words that get thrown around on the other videos. Everyone's proper cool when they disagreed with me on this and put their points across in a really, really cool, constructive way. And everyone was really open-minded as well. I just loved it. I thought it was cool. It was, like, really positive. YouTube comments tend to be pretty nasty, but it was good energy, man. And that is all I want. Like, every week, good energy. I don't care if you disagree with me, just good energy, good discussion. Can't ask for much more than that. So big shout out to everyone that left a comment. I really, really, really appreciate it. And also a lot of you brought up some points and made me consider things I hadn't even thought of, which is, brilliant. It's another great reason why I should be keeping pumping these videos out, because you guys give me loads of good info yourself. So yeah, thanks a lot if you left a comment this week. It meant a lot. And we've almost hit the 400 like target on each of these videos to get the live stream. I mean, we're probably not going to do it on part 3. We've already got it on part 2. And we're probably going to hit it on part 1. But everyone, more than made up for the lack of likes on this video with the comments. So I'm definitely going to be doing the live stream tomorrow. 100% want to say a big thank you to everyone. Yeah, proper happy, actually. Proper happy with the live stream, with all the comments. So anyway, there's something I want to show you. Okay, so I found what I wanted to show you. Sorry I wasn't prepared, but like I say, it is 1:30 a.m. in the morning, so I'm feeling a little bit tired. Forgot to plan this, but just one more shout out, really. I want to say a big thank you to one of the members on my website. Like, he's done something amazing and he didn't have to do this. And I want to give a huge shout out to Honeywell, who, like I say, is one of the members on my website, and completely out the blue this week, he sent me an email saying that over the last few months, he has been tracking the prop bets, which I've been doing in the live streams that I put out on YouTube before each event. Now, I don't really keep track of the prop bets. Quite honestly, by the time I've finished recording the live stream, I can't even remember what prop bets I've usually given out, because I tend to do them at the beginning of the live stream. We talk about a lot of different stuff on the live stream, and those live streams typically last like 3 or 4 hours. So by the time I'm done, I have to literally go straight into live betting the event, and I just can't remember the prop bets that I gave out, because I don't really plan them. I just think of them in the moment, try and work everything out and give them to you there and then on the spot. So it's really cool to see that the prop bets are actually in profit. This is a spreadsheet that Honeywell created. He has been tracking the prop bets that I've given out so far into here, and it shows that so far there's a 15.45 unit profit on all the prop bets that I've given out. So not too bad. I'm not sure exactly how many bets that is. Oh, okay, here we can see it's 72 bets. With 18 wins and 54 losses. So that's not bad, actually. You would expect the majority the majority of prop bets to lose. I talk about that in every live stream, but winning 18 out of 72, that's pretty damn good, especially because we're always going for the higher paying, riskier prop bet. So I like that, and I'm guessing this means that's a 21% ROI, which is very nice. So a big thank you to Honeywell tracking these prop bets for me. I don't have time to do this kind of thing myself, so when people help me out with stuff like this, it makes a big difference. So thanks a lot to Honeywell, and also thanks to Drexia, who sometimes posts the prop bets in the comment section of each live stream video. And I've already scheduled in tomorrow's live stream. It is currently scheduled. You can see if you come to the channel page, the time in your time zone will be displayed there. For me in the UK, it is 7 p.m. If you come to my channel page, find it here, you should be able to find out what time it starts, and you can also set a reminder. So in that live stream, I will be answering all your questions from the live chat, and I will also be trying to find a decent value prop bet for every single one of these fights taking place tomorrow. And if you don't know what a prop bet is, a prop bet's just a highly specific bet. For example, Cejudo to win by knockout or TKO would be considered a prop bet, although that definitely is not a bet I would recommend, just using it as an example. So we've rabbited on for long enough. I feel like I'm waffling because it's very late and I'm very tired. But let's get into the first fight now. Enough of that. Let's actually start talking about some fights. And the first fight that I want to talk about is Blagoy Ivanov against Tai Tuivasa. So for me, this fight was a very good example of why fight research is so important, because your mind will definitely play tricks on you. Tuivasa was one of the first names that jumped out at me this week when I began researching these fights, and I really felt that he'd be a very good bet against Ivanov, because both guys are primarily boxers. Ivanov's quite passive though, not particularly dangerous, doesn't have that much power in his hands, likes to circle on the outside and counter strike and pick his opponents off as they come forward. And Tuivasa being, very aggressive, having great cardio for a heavyweight, decent boxing, or so I thought. I felt that he would be able to basically walk Ivanov down, land the bigger shots, and win quite comfortably. But this again was a very good example of why fight research is very important, because when I started researching the fight, I completely changed my mind on how I thought it would play out. I went from feeling that Tuivasa would be a good bet to actually considering a bet on Ivanov, because Tuivasa's just nowhere near as good as I thought he was, nowhere near as technical. He's quite predictable. He throws the same 1-2 punch combo and then rushes forward in a straight line to try and tie up with his opponent or land a bomb. And Ivanov is the kind of guy that likes to play the role of matador and stay on the outside and punish people for their recklessness and pick them off as they come in. We saw that in his last fight against Ben Rothwell, where he played the role of matador very effectively. And Tuivasa is nowhere near as tricky as Rothwell. Rothwell's quite awkward and quite unorthodox, but Rothwell still does throw a very wide range of strikes, still has a very long reach, can hit Ivanov from places where Ivanov wouldn't have been able to have countered, whereas Tuivasa is way more basic, way easier to hit, way more reckless, and just not as good as I thought he was, to be perfectly honest. Now, I think the most likely way this fight plays out is Tuivasa comes forward, he's the aggressor, he lands the bigger shots, but I think Ivanov will stay on the outside, pick him off as he comes forward, and outstrike him. And again, it's probably going to end up possibly going to a close decision where we're going to be left scratching our heads as to which way the judges are going to score it. Are they going to score it in favour of damage and aggression, or are they going to score the fight in favour of effective counter-striking? Quite a similar dynamic to what we saw from Blagoy Ivanov in his last fight against Ben Rothwell. It could come down to subjective judging. One thing I would also say is Ivanov's grappling is at a much higher level than Tuivasa's. If Ivanov does decide to try and take this fight to the ground, he should be able to dominate Tuivasa. Tuivasa's a very, very low level on the ground, although Ivanov's one of these frustrating guys that, despite being quite a strong grappler, never really tries to take his opponent down. So that probably won't come into it. I do expect this to be a stand-up fight, and one of the reasons why Ivanov never tries to take his opponents down is simply because he does slow down as the fight progresses. He doesn't have the best cardio, and obviously you have to exert a lot of energy to grapple with your opponent, so he probably doesn't want to risk burning himself out by going to his grappling, which is a sign of good fight IQ. So, from a betting perspective, if we look at the current odds, so Tuivasa's odds have been all over the place all week. They've been gradually improving. Now we're starting to see a little bit of a pullback. But current odds are around about 1.74. That is minus 135 for an implied probability of 57%. I definitely wouldn't bet Tuivasa at those odds. I do slightly lean towards Ivanov, so betting Tuivasa as a favourite is completely off the table for me. If we look at the odds on Ivanov, currently around about a 2.20 underdog, which is plus 120 for an implied probability of 45%. This is a tricky fight for me, because I use the example quite often where, in order to lock in a bet, I need to absolutely love it. I need to feel like I'm getting a good deal. And I always use the shopping example. If you're going clothes shopping and you see a store with, really smart designer clothes and they've got a sale on, and there's three type of purchasing decisions, three type of decisions you make in your mind as to whether you're going to buy something. So say, for example, you really like a jacket or a coat, or whatever the fuck you call it in the country you live. Say you go into the shop and there's a very, very, very good jacket on display, on the hanger, on the rail, whatever you call it in the country you're from. Just a nice jacket, a nice coat. And you like it, you want that jacket. But when you go up to it and you look at the price tag, it's just way too expensive. It's not reasonable. It's not worth the money. So you're like, fuck that. I like it, but I'm not paying that much for it. You put it back on the hanger. Then there's the second type of sale, where you'll go up to the jacket, you'll look at the price tag, and you'll be like, do you know what? It's a bit pricey. You know what I mean? It is a little bit expensive. I would have liked to have got the jacket cheaper, but it's a fair price. I like the jacket. You know what I mean? I'm going to pay that. I'm going to pay it. And you just buy the jacket because it's a fair price. Then the third type of purchasing decision is where you see this amazing jacket, this really smart coat. You walk up to it, you look at the price tag, and it's way cheaper than you thought it would be. And you cannot believe how good the price is, and you are buying that straight away. Well, those are the kind of bets that I like to go for. When I look at a bet, I need to really, really love the odds. And that's basically how I feel about the three bets that we've got for this event. I'll be perfectly honest with you, I bet Donald Cerrone last week when his odds were around about 2.45, which is plus 145. I don't like him at the current odds as much as I did last week, simply because Tony Ferguson's a tough mamma jamma. It's a tough fight for both guys, but odds are 2.45 plus 140. I love Cerrone. That was a bargain. I love that bet. I love the odds that I bet on Marlon Moraes. I bet Moraes when he was around about 1.83, which is minus 120. Now he's down to around 1.77, which is minus 130. Don't like him as much. Not as much of a bargain. And I also absolutely love the odds on Keita. I bet Keita last week at 1.70, which is minus 143. I love those odds, but then today his odds improved as high as 1.78, although they've come back down now. And 1.78, that type of purchase is where you think you've got a good deal, you go back in the shop a week later and they've reduced it even more and you are fucking pissed. But it is what it is. What I'm trying to say is, I do favour Ivanov here, but in order to make money in this game, you've got to consistently put your money in strong positions. And I really feel like this is going to be a close fight. I don't think there's a strong position on either side. Ivanov's the underdog, but it doesn't mean there's automatic value there if you favour him, because you're taking on a lot of risk. Ideally, if I'm really, really torn on a fight and I don't love a bet either way, the smartest thing to do is pass rather than putting your money in marginal situations. And I don't want to make this video super long by going into my coin flip example and why plus EV bets are not mathematically guaranteed to return a profit over the long term in sports. I've got quite strong opinions on that. Many people disagree, but I'm not going to go into that now, otherwise this video is going to be mega long, but I'm guessing you've heard me preach that before. So let's move on to the next fight. This is a pass for me. Now we want to talk about, or actually, I can't leave it there, can I? Because if it is the first time you've listened to me, then you're not going to really understand what I've said. Okay, I'm going to explain. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is I do favour Ivanov, right? But if you look at his implied probability on his odds of 2.20, which is plus 120, that is an implied probability of 45%. And if you are working with repetitive outcomes, so for example, the flip of a coin or the spin of a roulette wheel, we know that if you flipped a coin 10 million times, you've got a pretty good chance of, after 10 million flips of a coin, seeing the coin land on heads 50% of the time, the coin land on tails 50% of the time. Roughly speaking, it might be 51% heads, 49% tails, or 52% heads, 48% tails, but roughly speaking, it's going to be close to 50-50. But that's because you're dealing with repetitive outcomes where you can consistently repeat the same event happening, the flip of a coin. Whereas when we look at a fight like Ivanov versus Tuivasa, or any fight, that contest will never be repeated under the same circumstances again. Tuivasa will never fight Ivanov in the same country, at the same time, in the same arena, the same stage in their life, on the same training camp, blah, 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 blah. Which means it's very dangerous to assume that if you're consistently taking plus EV bets, you will make a profit over the long term in sports betting. You will if you're putting your money in strong positions. What I mean by strong positions is positions where you have quite a big edge over the betting site and you're putting your money in a situation where it's very likely a fighter will win. But you are taking a big gamble assuming you'll make money over the long term if you're putting yourself in marginal positions. Because Ivanov, I do favour Ivanov here, but at the same time, Tuivasa is a young guy. He's going to be learning from his mistakes, making big improvements from fight to fight. Tuivasa is very aggressive, hits very hard. Ivanov's not that dangerous. He's quite passive. We're probably going to have to rely on the judges to get it right if the fight does go to if Ivanov does win. It's probably going to have to rely on the judges because I don't see him finishing Tuivasa. So the point I'm trying to make is I do slightly favour Ivanov, but because it's only putting your money in a marginally favourable position, if you were to place 30, 40 or 50 of these bets consecutively, it is very possible that you could lose 20 or 30 consecutive of these bets because you're not putting your money in a strong position. You're putting it in a marginal position. Nothing's guaranteed. I mean, how often have you gone and played roulette and you're only playing, red or black, and you've seen black come out like 15 times in a row? It's very, very common. It's not that crazy to think that if you bet on a fight or if you bet on 30 fights when you've only got a marginal edge over the bookie, that you could lose 30 of them. And the problem with that is when you're managing your bankroll and growing your money through compound interest, if you were to take, a 30% hit on your money, that could decimate your growth for like 3 or 4 years. It could take a long, long time to come back from that. Because remember, when you lose, you have to win twice as much back to get in profit. You have to win that full amount to break even and then win that same amount to get back in a decent profit. So the point I'm trying to make is avoid putting your money in marginal positions and weak positions. Only put your money in strong positions. And I know it's very, very, very boring, this video. I'm feeling tired. It's 2 a.m. It's a bit ropier than usual. It's not as sharp and crisp, I know, but I'm fucking tired, guys. You've got to cut me some slack on this one. I know I'm talking gibberish and probably not doing a very good job of explaining stuff, but that is the way it is. We now go on to the next fight, which is Alexa Grasso versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. And this is a fight that has given me a fucking headache, man. This is a fight that has really been a difficult one for me to form an opinion on, and I'm not even sure if I still do have an opinion on it. I haven't even made my mind up on this fight yet. And that's okay, because we're still, 18 hours away from the event starting. I spent a long time researching this, and as a general rule, the longer you spend researching a fight, the more you should pass, because if a bet doesn't jump out at you straight away, probably means there isn't a very good opportunity. My bets this week, we've got Cerrone, Keita and Moraes so far, if I don't add any more. And really speaking, within 30 minutes of researching each of those fights, I knew Cerrone was a good bet, I knew Moraes was a good bet, and I knew Keita was a good bet. So, the longer you spend researching a fight, you probably need to just accept it's a pass. But the complicated thing about this matchup is when I did first research it on Thursday, Kowalkiewicz was a moderate favourite, and I wasn't interested in betting her as a moderate favourite because I do see this as being a close fight. But over the last 24 hours, her odds have dramatically improved. If we look at the current line movement, let's refresh so we get the latest odds movement. We can see that on Carolina's odds, she was around about 1.63 at the beginning of the week, which was minus 159 for an implied probability of 61%. But today, on 5 dimes, no other betting sites have got as good as this yet, but betting sites tend to follow the odds on 5 dimes. You can get her at 1.95 on 5 dimes, which is minus 105 for an implied probability of 51%. So now we've got a different decision to make. At odds of 1.63. Carolina was a definite pass, but at odds of 1.95, it's giving me a tough decision to make because I do favour her here. She's very, very tempting. I like her in this fight just because Grasso's not great. She doesn't really have any power in her hands. She's not that effective at fighting backwards. Also, Grasso's got quite bad striking defense. So what you'll often see from Grasso is she'll eat a lot of clean, hard shots. And when she does, her head snaps back and she'll actually physically back up a few steps, which doesn't look good in the eyes of the judges compared to someone like Carolina who can walk through her opponent's shots and keep marching forward. Generally speaking, when your head is getting snapped back, doesn't look good. So even if you outstrike your opponent, those big shots where your head's getting snapped back are the ones the judges are going to remember. And also Carolina throws a really diverse range of strikes. She's very good in the clinch with her elbows and knees. She's got much better kicks than Grasso, and while she's not as good a pure boxer as Grasso, she does hit a lot harder because, like I say, Grasso doesn't have any power in her hands, and her striking defense isn't great. But there's no doubt that Carolina's on a bit of a decline. In recent fights, she has been quite open about the fact that retirement's just around the corner for her, and she's thinking of having children, and at 33 years old, obviously doesn't have too much time left. The older a woman gets, the harder it becomes to get pregnant, and she's probably put her body through a lot over the years competing and cutting weight. So that's going to be in the back of her mind, and definitely hasn't been the same over the last few years. Although even though Carolina is on a bit of a decline, I still like her in this fight. And in the Fight Week interviews this week, she's sounding a lot more motivated. She's sounding very hungry, and she seems pretty determined and confident that she's going to win. And I definitely favour her in this matchup. I think that she is just a better all-round fighter than Grasso. I don't feel super confident in her, which is the reason why I'm having such a difficult time making my mind up on whether I'm going to bet this fight. And you know what? With the fights that I'm covering in this video, I haven't covered them in parts 1, 2 or 3 simply because sometimes it takes me a lot of time to make my mind up, and I'm just thinking out loud as I sit here. I haven't made my mind up on this fight. I might still bet Carolina. I definitely won't be betting Grasso, I can tell you that much. I just don't think she's very good. I don't know about Carolina. What's probably going to happen with me here is Carolina's odds have been improving all week. If we bring them back up, Carolina's odds have been improving all week. And just like with Ivanov, if I bet this fight, I know it's going to be close. I know it's going to be close. Neither one of these girls is going to win. Is going to win convincingly. it's going to be close. There are going to be close rounds. You're going to have to rely on the judges for this one. So, in order to place a bet on either of these girls, you need to love the odds. And I would compare this fight between Grasso and Kowalkiewicz, and also the fight between Ivanov and Tuivasa, to a few weeks ago where we bet on Mike Trizano to beat Grant Dawson. And it's one of those situations where, like, when we bet Trizano, I was quite open about the fact that it was a risky bet. But it was a decent bet because his odds improved to 2.40 plus 140 in a fight that I felt, could go either way. But I am more confident. What I would say is, I won't need odds as good as 2.40 to bet Kowalkiewicz. I'm more confident in her to beat Grasso than I was in Trizano to beat Dawson. If her odds reach 2.0, which is plus 100, I'll probably bet Kowalkiewicz. If not, I'm not going to say I'm not going to bet her, but I need to give it some more thought. It's tough. It is tough. The problem I've got is I don't trust MMA judges. I know it's going to be a close fight. And if you bet her at favourite odds, it's hard because you know it's going to be a close fight. It just don't make me feel good. I don't know. I'm probably going to pass. I don't know, guys. Sorry. I'm going to need to give it some more thought and see how the odds move. Hopefully the odds decline loads and it makes my decision up for me, but just don't know. This is the problem with part 4 videos, man. I still haven't made my mind up on some of these fights. It's just the way it goes. Pro gambler life, baby. Pro gambler life. Can't jump into decisions. It's not easy making money in this game. Difficult decisions have to be made. Probably the smartest thing to do is pass, but we'll see how the odds continue to move. So now we go into the final fight that I want to talk about, which is Aljamain Sterling against Pedro Munhoz, and another fight that's given me a massive headache this week. Huge. Absolutely huge headache. And again, I haven't made my mind up on this fight yet. Still going over it, still battling with it in my head. Spent loads of time researching this fight, hours. 3 or 4 hours researching this fight, and again, as the saying goes, if you cannot get a strong read after that long, you're probably not going to. But having said that, I do think that it's quite clear. I don't think it's quite clear how this fight plays out, but I do think there are quite clear scenarios as to how this fight could play out. Aljamain Sterling is basically a better Elias Theodorou. Aljamain Sterling is what Theodorou wants to be. He really is. I mean, he's got the same style, but just better in all areas. Sterling doesn't really have any boxing, but he's got decent kicks and likes to stay on the outside and chip away at his opponent with kicks. Doesn't like to engage. And that is a very, very difficult style to deal with. Pedro Munhoz is better than Aljamain Sterling everywhere. But the one issue with Munhoz is sometimes he goes into kind of like a zombie mode where he just stalks his opponent and follows him around the octagon and really doesn't achieve much, doesn't really land that much and just gets picked off as he follows him around the cage. And we saw a little bit of that in the John Dodson fight. He really struggled against Dodson. And we know Dodson's also a guy that likes to stay on the outside, doesn't like to engage, he's really awkward. And Aljamain's exactly like that. I do think Dodson's a little more... Actually, I do think Dodson's a lot more elusive than Aljamain. I think Dodson's a lot harder to hit than Aljamain. But still, Munhoz has definitely struggled against a counter-striking style before. But in terms of skills, there's no doubt that Munhoz is the better striker. He's a much better boxer, hits much harder, throws a more diverse range of strikes. And also on the ground, despite the fact that, Aljamain Sterling is a strong wrestler, Pedro Munhoz's ground game, his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is at a very high level. So I do favour Munhoz here. Which again, it's this fight, in terms of the way I'm going to talk about it, is very similar to the Ivanov versus Tuivasa fight, because here we can see Where are you? Here we can see Munhoz is an underdog. Current average odds are around about 2.20, which is plus 120 for an implied probability of 45%. And Aljamain Sterling, average odds currently around about 1.72, which is minus 139 for an implied probability of 58%. So there's no way I'd bet Sterling here. Like I say, I think he's second best ever. I think Munhoz is just better everywhere. But Munhoz gives us a tough decision to make because, again, like I say, can't feel confident in Munhoz. Like, you can't feel confident in Donald Cerrone either. Like, I know I've recommended a bet on Donald Cerrone this week, but I hope I've been quite open about the fact that, you know, it's not a safe bet. Ferguson can absolutely win. The difference is the odds on Cerrone have ranged from 2.30 to 2.45 all week, which is a really decent payoff in what I expect to be a competitive fight that could go either way. Whereas, you know, odds of 2.10, 2.20, that's when your money's in a more marginal position. And the problem that I've got with these bets is I am a professional gambler, and you'll read a load of articles online from people that give strong opinions on betting strategies and bankroll management, and there'll be loads of other guys on YouTube or loads of other guys you follow on social media that will have really strong opinions on how you should bet and plus EV strategies and bankroll management, and it's all a load of shit because they all work office jobs. They don't do this for a living, and they've never made money from gambling in their life. They just float around, break even forever. You know, they might have decent runs every now and again, but over the long run, they don't do this for a living, and I fucking do. So I know what I'm talking about. And the way I approach betting is I like to try and make a profit on every single event. It's never going to happen you make a profit on every event. But my mindset is I try to make a profit on every event. Because if you understand how compound interest works, the more consecutive winning days that you can put together, the faster your money will compound and grow. So to me, it's totally pointless chasing plus EV bets, which could eat into your compounded growth, because the way to make big money in life is compound interest. You know, it's the fundamental strategy in pretty much every investment book ever fucking written. So, you know, all these jokers that think they know a lot about how to make money gambling, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And the problem I've got with bets like Kowalkiewicz and Munhoz and Ivanov is that in order to make a profit from those bets, I've got to win 2 out of the 3 bets to make a profit, and only a slight profit. To make a decent profit, you've got to win all 3. And the problem that I've got with that is that obviously on any given night, I can lose every bet, I can get wrecked. There's no doubt. It happens, you know, several times a year. But I'm pretty confident that I'm going to make a profit on my bets from Moraes, Keita and Cerrone. I don't know if Cerrone will win. I don't know if Moraes will win. And I don't know if Keita will win. They might all lose. But I'm pretty sure, you know, in order to make a profit, I only need 2 out of those 3 bets to hit. And I'm pretty sure at least 2 of those guys are going to win. I'm pretty sure one of them will win, which will mean even if I do take a loss, it won't be a total disaster. The way I look at events like this is I could, even though I lean towards Kowalkiewicz, Munhoz and Ivanov, I could quite easily see all 3 of those fighters losing, which then is a decent sized loss, which may potentially eat into profits that I'm pretty confident I'll get from Moraes, Keita and also from Cerrone. So the decision I've got is my strategy is all based around growing my money with compound interest. I'm pretty sure that if I just stick to betting Moraes, Cerrone and Keita, I'm going to make a profit tomorrow night. It might not happen, but I'm pretty confident I will. If I then introduce higher risk bets on Munhoz, Ivanov and Kowalkiewicz, that significantly increases the chance of me taking a loss tomorrow night, which then could slow down my future compounded growth because I may need to recover from these losses. I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility that 2 of my existing bets lose. You know, Cerrone could quite easily break under the pressure of Ferguson. Moraes could get wrestle fucked by Cejudo, or Keita could get taken down and submitted by Lamas. It's absolute possibilities that we've identified. And then imagine if I also had these 3 higher risk bets on the table and all of those to lose. It could end up being a night where you've put a giant dent in your money, which could take months or even longer to recover from. So, you know, on events like this where I've got 3 really solid bets, you have to think very carefully about whether you want to roll the dice or not. And people will disagree with me. And people will say, well, they're plus EV bets, you will make money in the long run. And it's just absolute bollocks. It's the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard, because all I would say to people like that is fucking prove it. Fucking prove it. Prove that if you bet 1,000 plus EV bets that are only marginally have a marginal edge, so only a tiny little edge, if you place 1,000 of them, prove to me scientifically and mathematically that all 1,000 of them won't lose. You fucking can't, because it's not a repetitive event. We're not flipping coins. You can't do it. You can't. And that's why I am very careful about putting myself in marginal positions when I only slightly lean towards a fighter. If you bet 1,000 fights and your money's only in a marginal position, you can lose 1,000 of them. We are not flipping coins over here. If you understand probabilities and repetitive events, you will understand what I'm saying. So fuck the articles you read online, fuck the tutorials you watch on YouTube, and fuck the guy that lives in his mum's basement that tells you otherwise, because he probably works in a call centre on $10 an hour and doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So that is pretty much it for today's video. Bit of a ramble, bit of a rant, sketchy content as well. I know these breakdowns weren't the best, but there are some fights that are just very tricky to call, very complex, likely to be very close, and that is why it is difficult to make money from gambling. But fortunately, every once in a while, quite often once or twice per event, we get some quite clear and obvious, or glaringly obvious strong positions to put our money in. And if we just stick to betting those over the long term, I can tell you that you will make money. You know, I had a mentor in poker a very, very, very long time ago, and his strategy was simple. He just always used to tell me, even when I was going through terrible runs, if you played poker, you know that the losing runs you'll experience in poker are more brutal than anything that you can imagine in any other form of gambling. And he just used to tell me, my mentor, that if you consistently put your money in strong positions over the long term, you will make money. And that has been my mantra since the day I began gambling, and it has helped me make a lot of money and a very good life for myself with that mantra. So yeah, guys, that is basically it. My mentor said, consistently put your money in strong positions, you'll make money over the long term. He didn't say, if you consistently put your money in marginal positions, you'll make money over the long term. And he lived in a very nice house with several very nice cars and lived a very, very good life. So I would rather trust his advice than someone that can talk the talk but not walk the walk. So I am passing his wisdom on to you. It's helped me achieve a lot of good things, and I'm sure it will help me achieve a lot of good things in the future with gambling. So thank you for watching. Also, please hit the like button if you appreciated this video, although I understand it was a car crash because it's 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm very tired. Also, we're really close to hitting 1,700 subscribers, so if you haven't already subscribed, please hit the sub button. I would love to hit 1,700 subs for this event. It would make me very happy. So good night, guys. Take care. I will be back for the live stream tomorrow where I'll have a lot more energy because it will be at a much more reasonable time. But take care. I'll stop rambling. I'm gonna go watch some movie or something. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon.
Too many thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so don't waste my time then. I just been living online, my city don't show me no love, and that's fine. Fuck local radio stations, I got more plays than all of these rappers combined. I'm going again, I've been going in, I'm fed up with so many things, I gotta just let it all out. I'm talking about the shit they've been talking.